Howdy YouTube, and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So today we're going to be doing some spot repairs on this little Hyundai Elantra. So this car here, I actually did, it must have been November 2020, so it was a while ago now, around 6 months ago, but I'm just getting around to doing the editing on it now. So I do know that lots of people out there do quite enjoy my spot repair videos. So it's a front and rear bumper. Now this side of the bumper, we're not really actually going to be repairing. I just ended up pulling that tail light out and having a look underneath there and finding out that there was actually a clip missing. So I just put a new clip in there and it held it nice and tight. And I did actually have to do like a little bit of bending of the bracket, but apart from that, it was really straightforward. And this is the other section that we're doing here. So we're doing the passenger side, or the left-hand side, scrapes on the front and rear bumper. And I'm having a look at those hubcaps there. Originally I thought, oh, you know what, because this is actually a friend of mine's car, like a friend's daughter's car. So originally I was like, oh, you know what, I'll just pop those hubcaps off and give them a bit of even like hardened base coat, because they didn't need the full clear coat on them. But then as it turned out, you needed to take the wheels off to take the hubcaps off. So I was like, you know what, I'll just leave it. No needing over-capitalizing on the job. This was just a quick Saturday job, just a one-day job. Get it in, get it out. And as far as the repairs go, you've just got to assess them and have a game plan, I guess. So everything is different when it does come to repairs. There's no real one size fits all. You've just got to have a look at it and decide the best way to do the repair. At the end of the day, I am a spray painter, but I do actually love all aspects of this trade. I can do the remove and refit. I can do these kinds of repairs. And what I was doing there on that rear bumper is usually a big no-no when it comes to doing repairs, but what I mean there is holding the sander up on such an angle. But I did it for a very good reason, because I wanted to make sure that the inside of all of those lows was sanded properly, so I'm going to get good adhesion with the body filler. So yeah, at the very start, I did make sure that there was no high spots left, and that's what I got the heat gun for. So I heated it up, heated the plastic up, pushed it down with the back end of the screwdriver, like you may have noticed, and then all we were left with was basically low spots, sanded them down, and then put the body filler in. I'm just having a quick look at the color chips here, and as it turns out, there was one good one, so we had 3 to choose from. From memory, it was like N3S or N5S. It's like silky silver or something like that. But with this paint system that I'm using there, it is Stando Blue. And most of the time, you're going to have yourself a good color chip, which you can just mix and paint. And you don't have to worry about doing spray outs. So obviously, I decided to check the color while the body filler was drying, so there's no downtime. At the end of the day, you shouldn't have to have much downtime when you're doing a job like this. The only real downtime you're probably going to have is once your 2-pack clear coat is on and you're baking. But even then, you'll probably be able to find that you can do a bit of tidying up around the workshop, cleaning your equipment and spray guns out. And we do have pretty fast clear coats these days that will dry in 20 to 30 minutes. So yes, you shouldn't have too much downtime if you know what you're on about and you plan your day. So all that aside, I'm just doing the body filler work. So sometimes just to cut most of the mud down, you can just get a orbital sander and then just cut the bulk of it down and then finish it off with the block. I always do like to finish it off with the block. Sometimes I will just finish it off with the orbital sander, but at the end of the day, it only really takes an extra couple of seconds to wave a block over it. Personally, I'm not too aware of that many panel beaters, or body men as they call in the US, online, but I am aware of one, and he is an absolute legend, man. So go and check out Luxury Body Repair. His name's Jerry Whelan. He's an Irish dude, and he actually knows one of the guys that I used to work with. So I will provide a link to his Instagram page in the description of the video. I'm not sure if he's on YouTube, but I think he is. And if he is, I'll do some digging and I'll provide some links to his social medias in the description below. So that's if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the body repairs and the panel beating side of the trade. Because as I say, look, I'm mainly a painter, so most of my content's going to be on painting. I will do the occasional body repair like in this video here, but if you want some more, go and check out Luxury Car Repair. I believe he's an Irish guy over there in Canada somewhere. So yeah, go check him out if you're interested. Anyway, moving right along, we're ready to do the masking. Once I'm happy with the repairs, just start doing the masking. And what we're going to be using today is some UV primer, and that's just for the sake of speeding the job up. So the UV primer I'm using is the Sickens brand, and I was actually put onto that by my audience on Instagram and here on YouTube as well. Everyone's saying, dude, you've got to go and get onto the Sickens UV primer. It's the best, and I totally agree. You get a really nice thick film build with it, and it dries nice and fast, and it's the easiest to sand. So previously I used to use some of the Chromax stuff, and it went all sticky and it just didn't dry as well. I mean, it did the job, but it's not quite as good as the Sickens stuff. So if you are in the game of spot repairs, I do highly recommend getting on the UV primers. But at the end of the day, you're probably already on the UV primers if you do spot repairs on the regular. And look at how hard that stuff dries. So that was literally just one heavy coat. I mean, you do have to be careful how heavy you go, especially with the UV primer, because the way that it dries is by the UV light. So if the light can't penetrate down to the bottom of the primer, well, then that bit is going to stay wet. So what I like to do is put that wet coat on, obviously leave it still semi-opaque so that the light can still penetrate down. I then give it maybe a couple of minutes on the light, and then I'll sand it down, and then I'll give it like another minute or even just like another 30-second wave over with the light after I've sanded it. As I say, just to make sure that you have got it fully cured. Now, I've never had it muck up on me. I've never stuffed it up before with the UV primer, but I have actually seen people do it where they obviously didn't give it enough time with the light. Look, now this job here, as I said, this is a bit of an older job that I did in Western Australia. So what we used to do is just throw it out into the sun, and we were lucky enough to have lots of UV light over there in Western Australia. Obviously, we don't have that everywhere. I'm here in Melbourne at the moment, so yeah, you're not going to get even enough UV rays, especially in the winter. Even on a sunny day in the winter, the UV index is not actually quite high enough, so I do recommend using yourself a UV light if you can get your hands on one. Moving right along, so I've done the masking stage obviously, then we gave it a quick water cleaner and a prep towel. Now we're giving it a pack rag down to make sure it's nice and clean. What I'm doing here is doing some paste coat blender. So as I mentioned before, I'm using Stando Blue on this job. It's a very nice quick system. It's water-based paint, or water-borne paint I should probably say. I'm starting off doing the blend first, flicking that blend out, and then we'll go and colour in the rest of the panel. So look, some people may have preferred to blend the bumper to the quarter panel, but I'm not sure if you may have noticed at the very start, the bumper colour was already off a little bit, and I decided that my colour was actually better. So I'll improve the colour at the same time as not run the risk of having a big silver halo around the repair area. So sometimes silver blends can be a little bit hard to hide. The more experienced you are, obviously, you're going to get better at hiding them. But yeah, that was a pretty small section from the repair to the quarter panel, so I did decide I was going to be best off just to go colour all the way. What I'm using is the West GTI Pro, so it's actually not the Pro Light, but it's still got the T20 air cap on it, and it's the turquoise Gunman edition. That was a ultra rare limited edition. There was like 15 of them made. After a bit of trial and error on the Stando Blue, I ended up finding that the TE10 cap was my preferred for metallics. So TE10 air cap, 1.3 fluid tip. I mean, as I say, like I was using the TE20 on this, but it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but I just found it just gets it on that little bit finer, a little bit better of a finer atomization with the TE10. So at the end of the day, that might change depending on how you spray or where you are and the kind of climate that you're living in. But yeah, I just found TE10 was my favourite. So this is how you got to spray this stuff. It might look a bit strange how you just go one wet coat followed by another slow wet coat, and then that's it. Like, so second coat you sort of hold your gun back a little bit. So it's really quite a different paint. I've never used any other paint that's quite like it that has this application method. But it's literally a one visit with the Stando Blue. So it's very nice and fast. So since making this video footage here, I've actually moved to Melbourne, and I'm using PPG Enviro base. And the first thing that I did notice moving from Stando Blue to Enviro base is that you really have to work a bit more for that finish. So there's a lot more booth time, there's a lot more spraying to get a silver done or to get any job done really, because it's like it's 3 coats, but you got to wait between each coat to dry before you put the next one on. So yeah, it does definitely go on nice and quick, and it also dries nice and fast, this Sando Blue. It's got really good coverage as well, as you notice. So even on your silvers, I mean, yeah, there are certain colours that you really do have to make sure you get the correct coloured primer, but if you do, then you wouldn't have any. Moving right along to the pre-coat stage, as you notice I'm using the same gun, same setup, just make sure it obviously got a really good clean out between stages. And another thing that I probably should mention, when you're using water-based, it's a little bit more important to get an air blower and dry the passage out. So yeah, just get it into the top of the spray gun and dry the passage where the paint comes out, like pull the trigger, blast out any little bits of water that may be left inside there, because the last thing that you want is little bits of water contaminating your solvent-based clear coat. So the clear coat I'm using here is actually the Port Crystal Clear. That was mainly because it was mine. So as I said before, this is a job that I did for a friend of mine. So I was in there on the Saturday. I actually worked it out with my boss. So at this workshop I just said, hey, can I come in and paint a job for you? Because we were pretty busy at that point in time. I just said, hey, can I paint a job for you and then I don't have to pay you for the workshop time? He was like, yeah, sweet. So I think I came in, spent a couple of hours painting a job for my boss, and then did this in the afternoon. No money had to change hands and everyone's happy. So I didn't have big dollars on this job here. So front and rear bumpers, I think it was like $350 I charged her. I think she ended up giving me like $400, or like she actually gave me more than I asked for, so that was quite nice of her. But on the other hand, I did a little bit more than what I originally said I was going to do anyway. So yeah, I think that's fair. You know, as I said, it was a friend of mine, so I didn't want to go and charge them exorbitant prices or anything like that. Even if they're not a friend, I don't like ripping people off. That's not me. So look, there may be some people in the comments saying, oh man, it's so easy to pull those bumpers off. And look, I totally agree. It is really easy to pull those bumpers off. But as I say, you've just got to sort of work within what the customer wants. You know, they didn't want to pay. Look, if you pull the bumper off, it's pretty much a $300 job. That's what I would say. $300 per bumper. You know, so that's got to be a $600 job. And then it gets to the point like, you know, is it really worth it? Would you just get a touch-up brush, do a touch-up, takes the eye off it for now. And it's actually a ripper little car. So I think they bought it for like $12,000 or $13,000, and it had 14,000 Ks on it, and it must have been garaged most of its life. It's a ripper little car. So 2014 little Hyundai Elantra, really nice to drive. It's actually quite spacious on the inside. But all that aside, we've got the clear coat down, we did those fade outs, and now we're back home. So this was the next day. I drove it home and then let it cure up overnight. And as you can see there, we do have a little bit of a edge there where we did our blend. That's nothing to worry about though, because we'll be able to buff that out, no dramas at all. So all I did was get a bit of that cut max, actually that's what I was using at the time. And I can tell it's some old footage because I didn't have my cordless Milwaukee buff, which I actually do have now. And I didn't have my mini buff, so I definitely would have used that. So this is a little bit of a before and after before we finish. Just one of those everyday, you know, shopping trolley type dents. You know, maybe they backed into the corner of a pole or something at a shopping centre. Same thing here, came a little bit close to a wall or something like that, and yeah, a bit of an eyesore. But for the sake of, you know, $350, $400, why not make the rest of the car look all nice? As it turned out, I obviously gave the car a nice detail and clean for them. I actually gave it a quick wax for them as well. So there you go with that blend on the rear bumper. You know, they're not after perfection with this job. There is a couple of little scratches there, which I did a couple of little touch-ups. I went around the car doing a few touch-ups, and yeah, they got themselves a nice presentable daily driver car for themselves. A ripper little car. As I say, I was actually quite surprised at how good of a little car these things are. It's definitely something that I could see myself driving around one day. I must admit that if I was to get one, the first thing I would do is paint all of the plastics. As you see on my little Corolla in the background there, you may have noticed that I don't like exposed bare plastics, because you give it 5 or 6 years and it all turns grey and it's a bit of an eyesore. But that's a pretty neat little repair if you ask me. Colour's pretty impressive, and the whole car got a wax and a good clean on all the windows. Until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out. I'd like to say a big thanks to everyone for watching, and if you'd like to support the channel further, you're more than welcome to go over and check out some of the merchandise we've got. My personal favourite is those spray suits, so they're a good quality Colad branded spray suit with the Gunman logo on it. There's also hats, drink coolers, hoodies and t-shirts, so be sure to go over and check out the link in the description if you are interested.